Hello and welcome to the Talk Film Society podcast. I am your host, Marcelo Pico, editor-in-chief of Talk Film Society, here yet again with another episode of the one and only, of the mothership, Talk Film Society podcast. For those keeping count, forget episode numbers. I dropped that a few episodes ago. And this is just whenever I feel like it. Okay, now, whenever something at this point important happens, I wanna jump on the mic and have one of these Talk Film Society Prime podcasts. Something important is happening. I'm not wasting anybody's time here. At least I hope not. Let's get into it. Okay, before I introduce my two great hosts, let me just say, when you're hearing this, it's July 2022. Okay, if you're hearing this down the line, this may still be important to you, okay? But right now, on the Patreon, on the Talk Film Society Patreon, that's patreon.com/Talk Film Society. If you go there, become a patron, you will have access to the new batch, new season, some would say, of the podcast, Dream a Little Deeper. That's right, folks. That's right. 9 episodes.
We're not dead.
Exactly. They're not dead. They are alive. It's been a while since they've had an episode. We'll talk about it. But yes, on the Patreon, go there now. You'll have access to 9 episodes. And later on in July, if you're patient, they'll roll out weekly. But again, I mean, if you want all of them, right at your fingertips, right away, go to the Patreon. And yeah, that's my tip as editor-in-chief of this website. Do that, folks. But let's introduce the hosts of Dream a Little Deeper. We have Terra and Alex. Hello. How are you?
Hello. Hi.
Oh, wow. It's been a while since...
it has been the longest 1-month hiatus in all of podcasting.
Okay, Dream a Little Deeper. And I should say, Tara's been a guest on. You were on the TFS 100 episode.
Yep.
Talking about your top 25 of all time. You were also on Have a Nice Apocalypse with me and Marcus.
I am. That episode's very good. I like that episode a whole bunch.
It is actually one of the best episodes of podcasting I've done. I'll be very honest and say that to your face. Alex. I haven't talked to in a while.
It's been a long time, yeah.
It's been a long time. But the three of us haven't been on the same episode since I looked at my notes before I hit record. November 17th, 2020 is when the three of us came together. And at that point, I think we were promoting Dream a Little Deeper.
The first batch of episodes.
The first batch of episodes.
When we first started releasing them, yeah.
And now, like the memories are flooding back, because I think in that episode, if y'all listeners go listen to that, I'm pretty sure I said what I'm gonna say next. One of you, please give me your elevator pitch of what Dream a Little Deeper is, in case people listening have no idea what's going on. What is Dream a Little Deeper? Who wants to take this one?
I'll take it.
Alex?
All right, I did it last time, so...
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Terry, you have a good memory. I completely forgot. I should have listened back to that episode, but Alex, it's your turn now.
Okay, so Dream a Little Deeper, in fancy terminology, is a critical retrospective of the Walt Disney Animation Studios films. And what that basically means, in normal person speak, is that Tara and I are watching every single Disney Animated Studios feature-length film, so from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs to now Encanto, and we are looking at the history behind the movie, the company, film, animation at large, social movements at the time the movie came out, and then we're also talking about it, we're analyzing it, and where we have some blind spots, just because we are both in our mid-20s and white and currently living in Oklahoma, we talk to people who know more than we do and interview people. I think we're up to like 20 or 30 interviewees at this point.
And
we did a lot of them for this next batch.
Yeah, and we still have a lot of interviews that have not hit air yet. Like we
Even
have
with this new batch.
Yeah, we have some people who only wanted to talk about the Renaissance stuff. I'm like, well, I hope you're ready to redo all of this in 3 years.
So as of this recording, there are 12 episodes out right now.
Yes.
This is a
yes.
And I as editor-in-chief, I'm publishing the new batch here in the next few hours, like literally. July 1st is the drop date. But I did listen back to, a lot of the Q&A that you guys are going to release, and it was interesting to hear you guys say, "Is it season 2?" It's kind of season 2, but it's just I realized I should have listened to that earlier. It's like maybe I shouldn't call this season 2 because I've been promoting it on the Twitter. Season 2.
Oh, it's fine.
So it's season 2 because I think there's been enough time that it can be season 2. I'm just weird, and in my head, I'm like, we'll resume. This will be like Q&A, and then when we hit 101 Dalmatians, which is the next traditional episode, it'll be 13 in my head. That's how I have it like labeled and everything. So, but yeah, it's basically season 2.
Yeah.
So
when we were attempting to do episodes weekly, Alex was dead set on season 2 being what comes after the Walt Disney Animation Studios movies, and
I forgot about that.
with the churn rate, and us realizing that for the amount of writing and editing that Alex has to do, and the amount of writing I'm going to have to do weekly for this show, production-wise, is completely it's impossible. We can't do it.
I was going to say, I don't know if y'all have noticed listening to episodes 8 through 12 of the last batch, but it was very stressful trying to get those out on time, and I definitely was just throwing stuff together because I was like, gotta make the deadline. And with this, I really wanted to take my time with it and just make sure I was as intentional as I can be, also considering the fact that I work full-time not doing this.
Yeah.
So...
exactly. Like, we were having this discussion off mic, which we're going to continue here on mic in a bit, but I just want to also clarify, there were actually 13, because now scrolling through, I was like, oh, that's right, you guys split.
Yep, there are 13 because the package films.
No wonder it cursed us, because we ended on 13. That's why it took so long.
Well, there were there are 13 files. There are 12 episodes, because the package films is a two-parter. The package films is a two-parter. It's 7.1 and 7.2.
Right.
Yeah,
but it's still 13, and that's what screwed us.
There are 13 releases, but there are 12 episodes.
Yeah, 13 files, but 12 episodes. So anybody listening, if you want to catch up, you have those 13 files and 12 episodes to devour, to catch up on before you listen to season 2. So from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs all the way to Sleeping Beauty.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the new batch begins with the Q&A, and then jumps into 101 Dalmatians all the way through The Fox and the Hound. So there you go.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, the reason why I brought you guys to do this is, yes, I'm excited because I've gone on record saying I think it is the best produced show on the network, because I know just listening through it's, and I think I did say this. I think the last time we all talked, but I think I did say that I've always envisioned I've envisioned a podcast series where it is all these interviews coming together in a very organic and smart way. And Dream a Little Deeper is what I would want to do if I had a lot more time and commitment. And I understand why it took several months, over a year.
Just say a year. You could just say a year.
It was a year because I actually took 2 months off, and then so really it took about a year from me starting to research again, then to us recording again, and then a major laptop issue right smack in the middle.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Again, it was this whole when I tell you everything that probably went wrong. Walt Disney is probably cursing us because he's like, I hate that they're doing this. Like, this is terrible.
Fuck that
These
man.
episodes
But
will
yeah,
never see the light of day.
Yeah,
God, it was like but yeah, like, and then like I think like you said, Marcelo, when you listen to it and you kind of hear how everything is kind of shoved together, it'll make sense why the edit also then took like 6 months to do.
Yeah.
Because I also challenged myself a bit with this too, to make it a little fancier. So,
and it does show.
I'm excited to see what people think.
Yeah. So far, you have one fan. That's me of this new batch because I'm the only one who's listened to it. I'm sure. Have you shown? Not shown. Have you no? So nobody else has listened to this batch. Wow. Okay.
Nope.
No.
This is
little
exciting.
clips, maybe like little snippets. Like if there was an edit I was really proud of, I'd like go like if I'd be like, hey, listen to this, and maybe like my roommate or my friend. I'd like have them listen to like a 10-second segment, but not like a whole episode.
And I would tweet out chunks of the script that were that just looked ridiculous, and individual sentences that are like barely comprehensible.
Yes.
Until Alex reads them. My other favorite thing to do in that regard was to ask stupid questions to get stupid responses so I could tweet them.
That or like whenever I was, because the way this works, in case this hasn't been made clear, is the history section is entirely scripted. The discussion is not. And then anytime I'm like introducing a guest or something in the middle of the discussion, that's also scripted. But what would happen is I can't pronounce words. And so I would read the same sentence like how many times, Terra? Like
easily 3 or 4 and still get it wrong. Sometimes it takes like 6 takes. Like there are parts in the old batch definitely, and definitely more in this new batch where I'm just like, stop, I'm just going to read this.
Okay, well
that or like Terra gets in the script and writes like a really dumb pronouncer for me because I literally need it like broken down into the barest syllables so that I can get the word out.
Alex, I feel your pain because Terra and I did a podcast
oh my god,
about Lord of the Rings called Going Helm's Deep, which was a struggle for me hosting. I don't know why I was the host of that show.
Because it was your idea. It was your idea, Marcelo. I would have taken hosting duties, but nobody offered. So
hey Terra, let's do it all again. That's never going to happen, by the way.
No, absolutely not.
I am proud of Going Helm's Deep, but it was such.
But we cannot do recap episodes of the Amazon show. We can't do it. I'll be too angry the entire time.
Yeah, because for those who don't know what Going Helm's Deep was, it was a show that had how many people on it? 5 people. Yeah, it was
5 people.
Terra, me, Sam, 5. Rocky, and LA. Yeah. And that was a struggle just getting all of us together.
What a bitch to schedule, honestly.
That took years off my life. And also just the actual recording of it. No. Saying all these names and places of this Tolkien stuff. And Terra constantly saying, that's not how it's pronounced, and what do, you idiot?
Marcelo,
that's not how you say it.
At least those were, like, made-up words that the author came up with. For me, it was just casual words that people say every day. There was nothing, like, obscure about these words that I was trying to say.
I have watched Alex try and pronounce the word probably, like, 3 times, and fail 3 times. It's not on mic. This is just things she's done in real life.
Yes, I cannot. My mouth, I can't do it.
But I feel you in that regard, too, because sometimes my brain just does not connect. I think there's a part of my brain that's supposed to, like, make talking work well. Like, it just shut off just there. In that sentence, it just shut off. That happens to me a lot, so I feel your pain. Now, I was saying to you guys off mic, the struggles of making a podcast, and we're getting into it. And I did say offhandedly, it's like, I have so many failed podcasts that I feel anybody struggle to make one work, to just release it even. And at the quality that Dream a Little Deeper is at, I'm proud of you guys because it's amazing. The parts I've listened to, and like speaking of failed podcasts, like 2 years ago, I think at this point, maybe more, I had a series I called Marcelo Makes a Podcast, where I just talked to various people. But somebody remembers where like where it ended up being a series that I enjoyed doing because like we just ended up talking like shop about podcasts. And I asked like various people, it's like, well, how hard is it for you to make a podcast? So, like, I do want to dig more into it. You know, now that I have you guys here, right?
Yeah.
So just why don't we just like go step by step? Like, what's the process of like, okay, next episode is 101 Dalmatians. Okay, what's the process like? The very start of it. Like, what's the first thing that happens?
I am going to look like such a freeloader for this entire discussion. I'm already so self-conscious. This is ridiculous. This is Alex's baby, and I'm just along for the ride, quite honestly.
Tara, happy
you're
you're
my
here.
hot assistant. That's what you are.
Yeah.
That's how this works.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's largely because before we even started anything, Terra and I decided that I would take history up until the Eisner takeover, which is right after Fox and the Hound, and then Terra would take over from there, doing the history segment. And that's like a big chunk of this podcast, so that's why it sounds like I'm doing all the work, and that's just because I was for this first bit. But basically, and I'm still kind of refining my process, because I just remember with the Snow White episode, I was just staring at my editing software for so long, like, I don't even know how to begin to, like, splice this together. And so the format of the podcast and my workflow has developed with each episode, essentially. But I guess the first thing that I do when we're deciding, okay, this is our next episode, here we go, I have my script and my research already done. That is the first step. And as y'all will see in the show notes, there were a lot of books and a lot of articles and a lot of documentaries that this girl watched. I think, like, one episode had 10 books that I referenced just for the history episode. I think that was Jungle Book. So research is already done. I get with Terra and we decide, okay, this weekend, does it work to record? And typically what our recording schedule looks like is after I'm off work on Friday, we sit down, we get on a call, we record the history section. And then that usually will take about an hour. And then we'll get off the call. And then at some point, either that night or the next morning, we watch the movie. And then Saturday afternoon, or I think sometimes it was Sunday, but mostly we stuck to Saturday, we hop on the call and we record a discussion anywhere from like 40 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes, just depending on how much we have to say.
And I think that number's going to tick up the later into the Disney canon we get, because just the more modern stuff is going to have a lot more stuff to get through. Mm-hmm. And a lot easier material and paratext to reference with regards to response and people's opinions.
Exactly. So then we have, and then at this point, so we have all that done. Also, all the interviews are done. That's also back stuff that we've been working on ahead of us just sitting down to record. And that's a whole other process that I can get into later, just like how the interviews go and finding the people and all that. So then once I have all like the individual files that I need, the first thing I do is I go through history and discussion and I clean up the files. So that's mostly like listening and seeing if there's any weird background noise I need to take out. In the history, it's a lot of me taking out all the sentences I mess up speaking. And there was a day, it was the day we recorded the Robin Hood history, and it was like every sentence I would mess something up. So I'd say a sentence, and then I'd go to the next sentence, and I'd mess it up. So then I'd backtrack to that, and then do that next sentence again. And I think like that was like a hour-plus long file that ended up being like 20 minutes, because there was just so much of me like not being able to speak. Turns out I was sick. So like there was a reason behind it. I slept like 12 hours after that, and I was like, oh my goodness, no wonder. So don't work when you're sick, y'all. Just rest.
Yeah.
That's my advice there.
Alex says, take a nap.
Yeah.
Alex says, take a nap, please. So then after I go through and I clean up and then also Terra will send me their own file and I'll put that in and I'll, line it up. And so once those 2 files I've listened to them, I've cleaned them up. Also with the discussion, when I listen to it, I'll timestamp when we talk about specific topics. So this can be easy or hard, just depending on how scatterbrained we are during our discussion, which is dependent on the source material and how into it we were.
The Pinocchio episode was a notoriously difficult edit because I was in the middle of a manic state when we recorded that. So I'm bouncing from topic to topic every 5 minutes. It is a miracle.
You would be in the middle of a sentence for one topic and then you jump to another one.
It is a miracle that episode is listenable at all.
So while I'm doing discussion, marking when we talk about certain topics, and I just do that directly in the audio file. I work in Audition, so I just hit the M mark and then I type in basically what it is. Or if Terra, I say something very key that I want to highlight, maybe I'll make sure I mark it. So that lives in that audio file. Then I create, so those two live in their own little audio files. Then I create a whole new workspace specifically for that episode, and I drag in the history and then I drag in the discussion, and then I do our intro. So our intro is pre-recorded, we recorded it forever ago, so I'll work on that and then I'll put the history after that and then I'll transition it to the discussion. And then the next part is knowing where I need to place in the interview guests. So Terra did this for me as we were doing interviews, and it helped a lot. But they went through all the interviews and time-stamped them. So anytime our guest talked about a specific show, or you should describe this because
so generally how the interviews went was Alex would run we would both be on the call with our guest. And Alex would basically run the entire interview, and I was sitting there in the call just typing, just taking notes in a Google Doc, and just creating a rough outline of everything. And then once that was done and recorded, Alex would send me the compiled file, because we recorded each part separately. Alex stuck them together, send the file off to me. I open that in VLC, open the Google Doc, and then just add timestamps to each new point that I had made when it comes up in the interview. Yeah. Our interviews range anywhere from 30 minutes to 3.5 hours.
Oh boy.
Yes. So I had a lot of doing all of those is always tedium, so I generally have something in another monitor and I'm just listening and following along on my notes, and I would just boot-a-doop as we went. So for all 20 some odd guests we have, I've done that for every single one of their interviews, which makes Alex's life a whole lot easier when she's going through and splicing things in, so she doesn't have to re-listen to every interview multiple times to find everything. It
helps a lot. So basically, while Terra was time logging, I would look at the notes, and this is while we were conducting interviews, and I have a master spreadsheet with each of the episodes, and I have a list of who mentioned even that movie in their interview as per Terra's notes. And so when we go to, let's say, 101 Dalmatians, I'll refer to the spreadsheet. It'll say, okay, we had Morgan, Jenna, Sam, and Abigail, I'm making these up, all talk about 101 Dalmatians. I'm like, okay, that's cool. So then I'll reference the master time code sheet that Terra works on, and I'll go one at a time. So I'll open Morgan's file first, let's say, and I see, okay, Morgan talked about 101 Dalmatians from 15 minutes to 30 minutes. So then I'll open up her workspace when we recorded her interview. So this is a whole other Audacity file at this point. Go to 15 minutes, and then I'll listen once through just so I can kind of get an idea of what we were talking about, and then I go through again, and it's more of an industry term that I've picked up, but I do what's called subclipping, whereas I make time selections for specific topics, and then I'll save those specific time sections as MP3 files in my folder with all the other files, like the history and the discussion for that episode. And then I'll name it something like really long-winded and random. So it'll be like, Morgan Corella, feminist icon, and save it that. Or then I'll be like, all right, Morgan loves Silver Era xerography good. Save that. So then I can go through and reference and be like, okay, these are the topics and this is the person. And then once I do that for all my guests, I look back at the discussion and I'm like, okay, so we talked about xerography from like here to here. So I kind of listen to like the first bit and the last bit and figure out where best the interview, the guests' clips would go. Like, would it be something that I want to use the guests' interviews to set up what Terra and I talk about, or is it like I want them to like wrap up what we talk about, like and it mostly is just kind of flow and what the topic is about and whatever I'm feeling that day, really. And then I do that, and then what I do is because it sounds weird if you just go from like Terra and I talking about Corella and whether or not she's a feminist icon, and then just randomly hearing another voice talking about it that hasn't been introduced. So then once like the interviews are about where they need to be, I write up little like transitions, we call them pickups, just so that the flow is a bit better. Record those, put those in, and then to finish it all off, I go back to the beginning of the podcast, listen to the history section, and pick out music for key moments so it's not just because the reason I started doing that is because with this new batch, as I've mentioned, I did a lot of research, and I didn't want people to just listen to my voice straight for like however long, 15 to 30 minutes, however long the history section is. So I thought this would be a fun way to break it up a little bit and make it a little more easy to listen to instead of just me droning on about things that people may or may not care about, which I'm assuming if you're listening to the show, you care about it.
I care about it.
Yes. That's good. So, that's my, and then I send it to Terra for a first listen.
And then I respond with notes. And then just like, this is all good, tighten up here, bring down the music levels, yada, yada, yada. Just like, like any minor stuff like that. Just be like, or hey, major things like, or hey,
major things too.
Yeah, hey, change name here, change all of these.
That was another reason why it took a little bit longer to get started, but we did it.
And and then once Alex is done with that, I get she puts the final version up in our Google Drive folder. I pull that down, and then I write the episode description. And cheekily timestamp or date the episode description when this episode was recorded.
Also, just to give people to make fun of us because we know this is ridiculous, but then also just to show people like, no, this like we really were recording from like August through like March. Like we were working on this incrementally.
Yeah, we did not have a ton of downtime.
No.
Yeah, so I'm glad y'all went through this. Okay, like first off, because like I am an editor, and I also it's not a 1-to-1 with how I edit things, but I understand the process. I understand that it's a production to get something like this going, and I'm glad it's out there now that because I got something out of this, and I hope people listening will appreciate that too.
And if anyone has any tips for expediting the process, please share them with me, because let me tell you, it was a lot longer, and that was before I started adding music. So happy for any tips.
But yeah, if anybody can help with expediting the process, and also come to me first too. I need this info too to expedite the process. Because the thing with me even is like I've sort of have. I'll just say it. I sort of have given up on like heavily editing the podcast episodes. I think one, my own personal podcast episodes. It's like one because like I think at this point, having done this for X amount of years, like I know how to fill time enough to like have as little like editing as possible. Because this episode we're recording, I mean, I'm glad nothing has been. We're not cutting any of this out, right? And if we do, nobody will notice.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I take vigorous notes as I record too. That's something I've learned through the years. But I do still kind of want to do like something on this level that you guys are doing. But again, you guys have jobs. I have a job. We have our own lives, and to do this on top of that, it is a struggle. But all that being said, I'm glad it's back. The new batch. Before, because I do want to talk about some other things to kind of get inside your brains, like to have,
of course,
for the listeners to get a better sense of who you guys are. But before we move on to something else, like, was there anything you wanted to tease the people with, like, who are on the fence of like jumping into Dream a Little Deeper, or who are anticipating the next batch?
Ah, jeez. I don't.
How about this? When's the next batch coming?
Yeah, Terra. When is the next batch?
Oh, that's right, because Terra's taking the lead, right, with the research.
Writing. Listen. I outline I give a rough outline of what I think my process is going to be at the end of the Fox and the Hound episode. I am way less precious about actual production history than Alex. I care more about bigger Disney motions and moves that Eisner and Katzenberg start making, and how they kind of use animation as like a pawn in all of that. So that's going to be more where my history
Which is
leans.
where I was getting to. I wanna emphasize a little bit. I mean, not as much as you, but I do mention it.
Yes, I know you do, but
Okay.
our interests lie in different things.
They do.
You're like, how does this all happen? And I'm like, there are certain movies where I'm like, the production of this is critical. The
Yes.
production of this is so fucking weird. Like, I'm very excited to get to, like, I unfortunately come out of the gate having to discuss The Black Cauldron, a notorious mess that drove many, many talented people away from Disney. So that's going to be a fun thing to really dig into and really get into all that. But there are like certain movies where I'm like, how did this happen? And then there's others where I'm just like, I don't care.
That brings up a really interesting point about this next batch that people are going to listen to. And something I emphasize a lot when I'm talking about the history. But this is kind of a dry period for Walt Disney Animation. Like, if you look at, like, Fox and the Hound comes out in 81, or, like, early 80s, I can't remember I think it's 81, and then, 101 Dalmatians kicks off the 60s. So we're covering, like, 20 years of stuff, and there's only 8 movies that come out in 20 years. Which is going to be completely different from what we see, especially once we hit the Renaissance in the 90s. And on top of that, there's not a lot of information out there about this time period. Like, I found, like, what I could, and in almost everything I could find, it would be, like, a paragraph in a chapter. Not even a full chapter in a book. You know what I mean? So I think, like, the highlights that people can look forward to is literally me trying, like, any sort of, like, information you could possibly want about what is going on with Disney animation during this time. I probably have it. And if I don't, please tell me, because I actually think that was another reason why research took so long, because I constantly felt like I was missing something, because I was like, there has to be more out there than this. And there might not be, I just don't know. So I think, so you're going to get a lot of that, but also, like, I just got to say, our chemistry in this is, like, chef's kiss. We killed
so
the
good.
discussions.
Yeah.
It's great. The discussions are all great. I would also like to say Alex is also lampshading the fact that she got really into researching the wall of pornography that used to fill Walt Disney Animation Studios. So that's where most of this fell through. This is not a joke. The animation studios used to have a wall of pornography. in the
God.
building.
Yes, that will come in an I can't tell you which one, but it will be in an episode, and I will get into it.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you either. It's so funny. It's so stupid.
There's just a lot of like really stupid random factoids that I found, though. That's the thing. Like, it's just a string of random stupid factoids. Like, did you want to know about why Walt and Roy Disney absolutely hated each other up until the moment Walt died? Well, you'll find out why that was.
Well, was Walt's brother was Walt's brother just as big a shithead as him? Yes, but was it in a smaller scale? Also, yes.
And then, like, well, the guilt, and I am convinced that, like, Roy was just racked with guilt knowing that, like, he was just upholding this grudge with Walt. That's why a lot of the 70s happened. Oh God, which I'll get into.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
He was just absolutely wrecked with guilt, and so like there's a lot of decisions that were made in the 70s that you're just kind of like, okay, and you know, you just got to go with it. The 70s were crazy and truly like set up Eisner in a very interesting way.
The door is left wide open for him and Katzenberg by the end of Fox and the Hound. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, there is a power vacuum to such a degree that like 7 people are all trying to fill at once, and then Eisner just walks in and says, "No, this is my house now."
Wow. See, that's the stuff I love. Like this background, because like even like those wild crazy stories. I was when I did this Spielberg podcast years ago with Matt Curiel, like I did my own Spielberg research, and that was fun all in and of itself, because like I found out things like these weird little factoids, or maybe even like things I didn't want to know. It's like how involved was Spielberg with like the Twilight Zone incident? Very much involved.
Oh my God.
But finding that stuff out and like listening to you guys talk about it on Dream a Little Deeper. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's so fun.
And then the way Alex frames a lot of it is also very good. Alex's like kind of attempt at objectivity when presenting some of these is very nice, but then the moments it falls apart is also very fun, because like it's hard to say that there are main characters through this, but also there are some main characters. This is like a political drama. It really is.
And to emphasize, like I really did try to stay as objective as I could, you know, while also like pointing out some moments where you're just kind of like scratching your head and acknowledging those are moments where you should scratch your head. But that was a big thing. It was important to me to bring light to these moments that people should be aware of, in my opinion, when they think about Disney. But also just showing, like, this is the other narrative going around, and acknowledging that narrative does exist. Right. So, and then letting people put it together themselves. People are smart.
Yeah, people are smart.
And what I was going to say is, like, the moments when you can tell Alex's opinions of a person are when, like, there's a main character, like a big figure in the animation space, who, when he drives out of the story forever, Alex just kind of just tosses him out the window. It just is like, we're done with this. We're done with this man.
That wasn't even what I was intending. That's the thing, though.
It's so funny.
But it wasn't what I was intending. That's
it's so funny. It just stops, and Alex just tosses him out the window.
I didn't mean to. That wasn't my goal. Now everyone's
so
gonna think oh man.
So now people have to listen for themselves.
Yeah, and tweet at us and tell us who you think it is.
It's Walt. Alex just completely tosses Walt out the window. It's like, he's dead. Goodbye.
I re-recorded that obit section because I thought I was being completely heartless with it, and I was like, "This is still a person. I can't do this. Okay. I can't." That's my opinion, though. Like, y'all can think differently. Fair. I'm like, it's still a life. Like, I can't.
I know.
Be crass with it.
God, our writing styles are going to be so different. I'm gonna roll in here like I'm talking about Dr. Phil and just be like, fuck all these people. Boom.
Oh gosh, I can't wait for the Terra phase of
it's gonna be great.
Dream a Little Deeper.
Oh, it's gonna be great.
We could talk about.
I have such distaste for all these people.
Oh, and for those who have heard Terra on like any other podcast, including Dream a Little Deeper, I mean, buckle up.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, I go back to that Southland Tales episode, like Terra, like me and Marcus just like we wound you up and you just went for like I think like a 20-minute stretch just talking about like, well, I don't even want to wind you up now. You know, folks listening, listen to that episode.
Go listen to that Southland Tales episode where I spent 20 minutes reading the Communist Manifesto.
Yeah, exactly.
On mic.
Exactly. We'll talk about Dream a Little Deeper at the end of the show to plug it one more time, but for now, I want to turn. Hey, we're right smack in the middle of 2022. Okay, I'm springing this on you, but this is on my mind. I want to hear your thoughts on it. The state of cinema in 2022. I know.
Marcelo.
And listen, and I bring this up because
we don't watch movies.
I know. I was just going to say that. I was like, I wonder if they've seen any movies in 2022.
I have.
Oh, okay. Okay. You guys have
yes.
seen movies in 2022. Okay,
but
that's good.
I have to pull up my Letterboxd account to like figure out what I have seen because I can't tell it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Tara.
Did we?
Yes. Yeah. Let me turn to you first because Alex is on her Letterboxd.
Yeah. Hi.
Tara,
hello.
Do you have a movie or two that springs to mind? I mean, we're halfway through the year. Is there anything that you that you think is like, hey, that's some great cinema?
Yeah. So God, what have I seen this year? What have I gotten to go see? I didn't get out. I know there's one, but I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Alex,
Bob's
did we
Burgers.
see that? That is literally the one.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's the one.
You also saw. Okay, you saw that, and then we went to go see House.
Okay,
but that's not a 2022.
No, that is a 1970.
77.
I'm aware.
77
or 76.
No.
You did see Everything Everywhere All at Once because you texted me about it. I didn't see it with you, but I did go see that.
Yeah.
I've actually seen a lot of movies this year. I'm impressed. I'm up to 5.
Wait.
Okay.
Let's go to Everything Everywhere All at Once and your thoughts, Tara. Because like for me, Everything Everywhere is my number one of the year.
Yeah.
With a bullet.
I mean, it has to be, right? Like that thing is such an entity onto itself. I went I had seen Swiss Army Man, and I like Swiss Army Man a whole bunch, but I did not expect that from Daniels at all. It like I just heard that it was incredible and that I had to go see it, so I went and saw it, and then proceeded to get kicked in the face, emotionally.
Oh yeah.
And just the way that they completely like the way they're able to bounce around between all these genres and make something that's so unique, but also so dedicated to various eras of like specifically Hong Kong cinema, like the like spoilers for everything everywhere all at once, the section of the movie where it's bouncing between like the Wong Kar-wai style romantic drama, and then flicking from that to two rocks talking to each other on a cliff, a la like something like Rubber, which is not Hong Kong cinema, I know, but like interspersing that with like martial arts stuff. It's just it is the rare time that I'm rendered speechless trying to talk about a thing, because it just thinking about it is so overwhelming.
Absolutely.
And there's so much of it all the time that like that thing never gives you a moment to breathe, really, because the point where you want like
the open, like,
oh yeah,
immediately, like I felt so tense watching the open because there's so much happening, and like you're literally in Evelyn's headspace where she's overwhelmed, right?
And
which like the bit of relief you get after that like, you're like, oh, okay, because it's over, but that doesn't mean the stakes are any lower, and that doesn't mean that it's not moving at all. It just means that, like, the complete onslaught of sensory overload that you got at the beginning is gone. But there's other things that keep the stakes up.
Right, because, like, you might not be bombarded by everything everywhere all at once, but, like, all of it is on Evelyn's mind, so it's all on your mind. It's all there. You're dealing, like, it is an impeccably named film. Like, it really, like, it is, the mission statement is there from the word go, and just the fact that it's split into those 3 parts, regardless of how long those parts end up being, is really just it is a triumph of movie making, quite frankly, and I'm really excited to see whatever Daniels do next, but I don't think you top this. And if they manage to top it, it will be like the greatest, like you know? I don't.
It's a special movie, one that rarely comes around anymore. I mean, the last time I think I felt this way about a movie where just so many people are in love with it, and like people I know who don't normally go to see like movies at all, like go out to see a movie, was like maybe Parasite is when it happened last for me. But I think this has connected with people in a way that, well, I hope my friend Anna doesn't mind me telling this, but like I went to go see it with her, and after we left the movie, she was just like in tears, like she like kind of like inconsolable, basically, and she was just that floored, that affected by Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I mean, I've seen it 3 times in theaters. I might see it at least one more time before it leaves theaters. Even though, yes, it's coming out like on Blu-ray, like in 2 weeks or something. It's that special. So yeah,
it is. The closest I can think of is, like, I put it up there with something like Silence. It is significantly easier to watch than Silence. I'm not putting them like in conversation in that way, but for me, I don't know that I'll ever, like, I might be able to revisit Everything Everywhere All at Once like one time more in like that I can think of, but it's not something that I don't know I'll be able to go back to it repeatedly. I respect people that do, but like I find that movie to be like emotionally taxing in such an uncanny way. Again, differently emotionally taxing than something like Silence, which is just 3 hours of Scorsese beating you with a cross. So I have a massive amount of respect for that movie. I think it is a triumph. I don't know that I'll ever be able to bring myself to watch it again, just because of the way the last half of that plays out and just absolutely dismantles the viewer emotionally.
Alex, your thoughts on Everything Everywhere All at Once, and then what other movie you've seen? You mentioned Bob's Burgers, which I've also seen, which I like. It was enjoyable. I'm not like the biggest Bob's Burgers fan, but I enjoyed that movie too.
We'll circle back around to that in a second.
Yeah. But Everything Everywhere All at Once, though.
Yeah, no, so everyone at work kind of like pokes fun at me for this, but I have very few movies that are 5 stars for me. And this was easily, as soon as it was over, I'm like, this is one of them. Clearly, easily one of them. Never have I felt so just like completely plugged into a movie in a very long time. Like when I was a kid, yeah, but I had like, you're a kid, so it's a bit different. But like lately, just so invested in what was going on, feeling for the characters. The performances are what really stuck out to me. And then just the creativity of it all. Like I don't have as much of a cinema background as you guys, so the nuances of genre that they're drawing on, I didn't really pick up on personally. But just like, the performances by the whole cast, and just like the things they thought of to put in this, like, like just having scenes where 2 rocks are talking on a cliff, and having a whole universe where everyone has hot dogs for hands, and having like the everything bagel seasoning bagel represent like, like I can't remember what it is, and it's been so long, but like just these little things like that, you're just like, man, like these are so funny. Oh, the Rakakuni, that part, like that I just died. I just was blown away that they made it, like they had these moments that were just so fun and creative and enjoyable and playful, and yet it's such a the film has such like a powerful story behind it too. You know, it's not just something that you can toss aside, like the message it's trying to get across in the story it's telling, just of family and the generational trauma and love and all these things. It's just beautiful, the whole thing. That's all I have to say, because it's been a while since I've seen it, so it's not fresh on my mind. And one you have to see in theaters. Like,
oh yeah,
I cannot imagine having the same experience just watching it like on my computer or on my TV at home.
Oh yeah. It's one of those, like, I even like watching it like 2 weeks ago. Sunday at like 10 a.m. at an AMC, like it was still like half packed, and like it still got people reacting to it, almost like
that's awesome.
Almost like it just came out. That's beautiful to see. I'm glad people have gone out to see it, and it's still playing in theaters here in Austin. It doesn't look like
that's cool.
It doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon, which is great. So. Yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I should mention, like, this is the second time I've talked about it this year on a podcast, on the Talk From Society podcast, because, like, me and Sarah Sorrentino talked about it back when it was playing at South by. And to me, it just feels like a movie that, like, I'm going to end up talking about, like, for the next few months. Like, every guest that comes on this show, I'm going to bring it up. It's like, hey, you've seen Everything Everywhere All at Once. Tell me. But yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Fantastic. Where can we go from here? Yeah. Bob's Burgers? How about Bob's?
I haven't seen that. That's
all right. I'm
gonna
be entirely honest with you. Bob's Burgers. Like, yes, Everything Everywhere All at Once is a better movie. Bob's Burgers is my favorite movie of the year.
Oh,
rules! It's so good.
Okay. You know what? That's fair. I mean, Terra, are you a big Bob's Burgers fan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. See, that makes sense, because like I'm not the biggest Bob's Burgers fan. I've seen a few episodes. I do like the show. I just never got really in deep with it. Mm-hmm. But just, I will say this: that first musical number in Bob's Burgers,
it's phenomenal. It's great.
It got me emotional. Okay. Yeah. I was like, wow. I kind of wish the entire movie was just at that level, but that opening number
is incredible. It's so good. It's so strong. It so clearly lays out what everybody wants, who they are as people, just the dynamics they have, like in the family, and like how they worry people perceive them, like Louise, especially with the hat and her ears. The bit in that number where she's like singing about like needing to find herself, and everyone around her is just dwarfing her. It's phenomenal. It's so good. And like, there's an episode of the show where she's dealing with like bullies stole her ears and kind of dealing with that. But the movie does revisit a lot of points from the show. Like conceptions from the show, but like puts a nice, interesting spin on them. Like, there's an episode fairly early on in the show's run where there's a sinkhole in the road in front of the store. But that's caused by a giant mechanical shark going on a rampage and making it worse and busting through the street. And eventually eating through most of the store. So they turn like the end of that episode into a Jaws homage, where like they're trying to throw the grill into the mouth of this mechanical shark to get it to stop. So like, to come back to the sinkhole and motif and put a nice little spin on it is fun. It's like, the movie is basically a greatest hits of this show that's been running for like 12 years. And it's a really good, really satisfying pinnacle to that like pushes the characters in interesting directions, manages to find new stuff to do with them while maintaining the canon of the show, and not like Like, because with cartoons and movies that get big, it's like it's a thing of like, all right, how do we do our own thing that doesn't affect the show? Like, it feels like this is like going to be an integral part of the show going forwards. And like, there's not like a canon, quote unquote, for Bob's Burgers, but it does keep mentally like coming back to stuff, and like events do matter even if there's not a particular timeline. Like, they did a Brony episode, and Bob almost gets like gets like forced into getting a tattoo, and the tattoo starts, and it gets stopped halfway through, and that tattoo remains on him for the rest of the show. So they care about their continuity to a degree that most cartoons like don't. And it's really nice to see that the movie is still built around maintaining this continuity and acknowledging the things that have happened in the show up until that, and it's not just a self-contained thing. So it's really nice to see something like that at such a high budget, and then also just it be so good and so funny the entire way through. God, it's great. It's just so good.
I'm happy I talked to you about it, because like I was like, oh, it's good, but like, yeah, the points you laid out makes me want to see it again. Yeah, and I think it may already be on HBO Max or something. It might be on HBO Max soon or something. I don't know, or on Hulu. Yeah, whatever. It's a Disney movie. It'll pop up on Hulu too. Okay, why don't we do one more movie? Alex, do you have another movie you want to talk about before we wrap this up?
I'm going through. I could do like quick takes on a few.
Yeah, sure. Just do some quick takes.
I'll just do some quick takes. So, and these are just ones that are 2022 movies that I've seen. But Turning Red, I have never seen a movie that more perfectly encapsulates what it's like to go through puberty as a teenage girl. Nonstop. The Lost City, resurgence of action rom-coms. Yes, please. Yeah. Love it. Doctor Strange 2, more like WandaVision 2. Am I right? Not perfect, but love the vibes. The unbearable weight of massive talent. Was it necessary? No. Did I enjoy myself? Not all the time, but am I glad I saw it? Yes. Yeah. And then, I watched the Love and Gelato movie on Netflix, and it was terrible. Those are my quick takes.
Perfect. So now, listeners, you're inside the mind of Terra and Alex, and now
God, no! Don't run away, please. God, no! Don't be in here. No, you won't like this. No, get out of my head.
And now you're ready to dive into.
It's just a straight horror movie in my head. I don't know.
It's a bad time up here. There's too much stuff up here. Like, no,
And now y'all are ready.
I don't want to deal with.
Y'all are ready to dive into Dream a Little Deeper.
Yes. I will also say this, like, very like we said, not a 2022 movie, but getting the chance to see House.
Yes.
In
on film,
phenomenal experience.
I had the pleasure of seeing that in a theater years ago, and oh boy, what a movie!
What a film!
So good.
It's another one of those movies that like I wish they played in theaters more often. Like make it like Rocky Horror Picture or something. Come on, let's get out there to folks, because it is.
Oh, I think it would be a great cult midnight film. Like we saw our showing was like at what, 9?
It was like I was driving back from Oklahoma City, saw the listing. And turned to my fiance and went, "We're going to this," and she was like, "Absolutely." And I texted Alex, I'm like, "We're going to this," and Alex was like, "Absolutely." So beautiful. This came together in the span of like 30 minutes.
Yes.
It was a great impulse decision.
Yes.
Oh my god! So there you go. So folks listening, those are some of the films of 2022 and House, all of which you can go see and enjoy, except for that one Alex didn't like. Don't see it. Don't see that one.
Don't see it.
Don't watch Netflix originals. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that. No. They don't deserve your time.
Avoid them.
It's an adaptation of a book I like, and so it was that Elise, our friend, likes too. So we made a day of it, and we both were just so disappointed.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Anyways. You won't be disappointed by Dream a Little Deeper, Season 2, now on the Patreon.
No, you won't.
No, you won't.
No, you will not. And if you are, no, you're not.
Yeah,
You're
no,
wrong.
You're wrong. Yeah, we're here to tell you you're wrong. TalkFilmSociety.com. Nope, that's the website. Let me go back. Patreon.com/TalkFilmSociety. 9 episodes on there right now. And go to TalkFilmSociety.com/Dream a Little Deeper. We can see all the episodes available. Spotify, Apple, links are on there. Trying to make it as easy as possible for y'all to find the show. I plugged the show, but now it's officially plug time individually. Alex, why don't we start with you? Plug anything you would like at this time.
Please listen to Dream a Little Deeper. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and I think Stitcher as well.
Yeah, Stitcher. Yeah.
Please leave us a review. Please tell me how we're doing and validate me. I think that's all I have.
Okay, beautiful.
I feel like I'm working on am I working on something else?
Are you?
Are you?
No, I'm not. I was thinking of something else that does not... Nothing to plug. It's a different project. So that is all I have to plug.
Fair enough. Tara, the floor is yours.
You can follow the podcast at Dream Deeper Pod on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at play_champion. Dream a Little Deeper is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and the Talk Film Society Patreon, patreon.com/TalkFilmSociety, where on July 1st you can get the entire drop of our second season for only $1 a month, although we do appreciate you giving more money. That would be great.
Absolutely.
And then if you can't foot the Patreon, that's fine. We're releasing weekly in the feed starting July 6th. Yes. Not sure when this is coming out, but those dates are hard and fast. So, yeah.
This is going to be out tomorrow.
Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
On July 1st.
Yeah, on July 1st. Yeah, this episode.
I love that Alex is saying this. I love that Alex is saying this authoritatively. Like Alex is the one doing the edit.
I am all about deadlines.
Yeah,
my life is deadlines.
Alex, our deadline is now. Our deadline is now.
Please don't. Please don't.
Thank you both. Honestly, sincerely, I love you both. I'm glad you're part of the network. I'm glad. I'm going to be a little sentimental here, even though I've been sentimental for the last 60 minutes.
Ew.
To have people who want to be a part of Talk Film Society who are as bright and smart and fun to talk to as you guys, pleasure. And to have a podcast as great as this on the network, pleasure too. Dream a Little Deeper, great. Okay, that's me being sentimental. But yeah, that's it. That's the show. Thanks for listening, folks. And now for the catchphrase I say at the end of all these episodes. Hey!
Get Helm's Deep in them guts.
Nope. Okay, motherfucker. No, it's, hey! See you at the movies. No one ever say that. All right, bye.
Bye.